70. They're the guys that went in. We were in direct support of them for that entire mission.
Is there any individual days or missions within that would serve to highlight?
The worst one was Fallujah has a lot of, it's kind of, I don't know, the roads are long and narrow. You basically can see on a clear day all the way through the city and some of the main roads. And combat-wise, they can kind of bottleneck on people. And the Marines had gotten stuck in a dead end, had taken like, I think 4 or 5 guys with KIA, and 5 or 6 were wounded, and they needed emergency evac. And we were like, you know, we could just fit in. And I give my pilot a lot of credit for being able to fly that aircraft in between those buildings. And we landed, and they were taking fire, and they stopped shooting at them and started shooting at us because we were the big guy. Because a 53 looks like a tank that's flying. So it's kind of big in the air, and it's kind of, you know, and it has a significant amount of firepower. And you turn the aircraft backwards, so the back end, he lowered it, and he pointed the back end, and basically they were coming in, and I was manning the gun right on the back end. And it just, that was, for a couple minutes there, that was kind of intense, because you're pretty exposed at that point, and there was a lot of small arms fire, like, all over the place. Thankfully, a lot of them didn't know how to shoot. So that was the scariest moment.
Sure.
And then one other time, we were doing another extraction, and it wasn't so bad picking them up because we were kind of shielded behind a building. But once we got up and outside the building, we started flying, and we started peeling out, and I looked down, and right on the roof are like 20 insurgents, and like half of them have RPGs, and we were 200 yards in the air, maybe 200 feet, so well within their range, and they just let them rip. And one of them, to this day, I think it went between the blades. I mean, I don't know if it did, but it was close. A lot of them kind of.
You could hear it?
Oh, you could hear them, and they make this really like the fins, the way the fins are, they make this screaming sound as they come. You can hear them cutting, buffeting through the air as they come through. And I swear, this one, I was like, this is it. Like I thought he was coming at the aircraft, it was going to hit it. And the small arm fire is no big deal for a 53 because it's got a good amount of steel around it. The rounds just ting right off of it, but an RPG will take it out. And I thought it was coming right at it, and at the last second, it just, you know, it veered off, and I mean, it just missed.
Yeah.
So that was a moment.
How did they gauge success of what you were doing? I mean, within your unit, or did you have an idea that throughout this exercise, October to December, how were they telling you we're being successful or not? I mean, outside of staying alive.
You could see, for us, because you can see the combat area much better than a guy on the ground is. You could see our progress through the city. We started at one end, and by the end of it, we were at another end. They took the city in 2 months, basically 6 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, they had it a lot rougher than I did. You know, I had a couple moments that were interesting.
Sure.
But
you could physically see from overhead.
Oh, yeah,
geographically.
You know, yesterday they were here, and today they're here. They're a block further down the road.
Yeah.
You know, they took the city itself probably in 3 weeks, and then it was cornering off. You know, because they would pocket the buildings, and they were trying to limit damage. You know, in the end, they couldn't limit all the damage. They had to do what they had to do. But you know. I mean, I guess you could see, and I always, you know, our commanding officer told us success is we don't lose an aircraft, and we definitely don't lose any people, you know, and we didn't. So I think we were, at least my squadron was successful in that.
Yeah.
You know.
So that pretty much brought you to the end of that deployment.
Yeah.
What was it still in operation when you were leaving there?
We didn't leave until it was over.
Okay.
Operations, I still remember, operations ended December 24th.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, you can remember that. It was the day before
Sure.
Christmas. They were like, guess what, it's over, and we left a week and a half later. We were out like 30th to 31st.
take in terms of equipment with you?
Well, you take all your aircraft. All your aircraft are yours. The facilities are permanent.
Sure.
The equipment to fix everything, most of that is permanent. The only things units are bringing with them is tools and aircraft.
So you ended operations on the 24th of December, and you were gone 2 weeks. Easily by the first of the year, you were certainly out of theater.
I was out of theater. I remember I was in Kuwait for the New Year, and a few days later I was back in Okinawa.
Was there any redeployment training within Iraq in terms of reintegrating into out of theater or?
Not at that point, no. There had been nothing. It was just, it was just a transfer.
Just a transfer. Was there any, throughout this particular deployment, issues with post-traumatic stress within the unit, or?
In our unit, I can think of one guy that, and we're very within the region.
So at this point, it wasn't a pervasive problem?
Well, I know at the ground level, the guys who saw it every day and lived in it, their stress level was a lot higher than ours was.
Right.
You know, I can only imagine what that is. You know, they do a lot of waiting around too, sitting around for a week, and then you go on a combat, and you're on the ground. It's a lot more dangerous than flying around in a flying tank.
Sure.
You know, but there were moments, you know, even for us, that was pretty scary. You know,
Absolutely.
Could have lost a couple aircraft a few times, and thankfully we didn't.
So you left Kuwait January and got back to.
Yeah, a couple days later,
okay.
We flew back.
How was the? Did you guys land in Okinawa and?
Yeah, flew right back to Okinawa. And
reception there?
Yeah, there was, but you know, for guys like me who were, you know, single, there was no one to say hello to us. We got on a bus and went back to the barracks and proceeded to drink large quantities of beer. I think that's what everyone.
And then were you permitted to take leave at that time?
Yeah, a lot of people did.
Yeah.
I waited a few weeks. I wanted, because and then I picked up sergeant by then.
Okay.
So I wanted to let some of my guys under me go and come back, and then I left.
Okay.
So, which was actually kind of nice, because the first couple of weeks after you get back from the deployment, you don't do anything anyway.
Okay.
Because they don't want anybody to be stressed out.
No reintegration classes, no medical processing,
They
or
offer you all that stuff. To be honest with you, you know, it's the Marines, and you're trying to be a big tough guy. So it was actually kind of, I spent 2 weeks of doing basically nothing in Okinawa, but drinking beer and, you know,
yeah.
doing whatever, basically vacation, and then went on vacation.
Before we go any further, I forgot to even ask you in terms of communication when you were in Iraq with family members and friends back home, telephone, internet,
All available.
all available.
Except for during Operation Fury. Well, it wasn't that, it was just the long hours.
Okay.
You know, it was either, if I wasn't in the air, I was sleeping.
Okay.
So I didn't really talk to them much during that time.
How was the reception once you actually left Okinawa and got home?
I mean, you know, my mother was more than pleased that I hadn't lost any arms or limbs. She was good. Everybody else was happy to see me. You know, it was always nice to go home.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially being so far away from home. In 5 years, I was home 4 times.
Yeah.
So,
Wow.
you know, especially like my younger brother. That's always been a big thing for me too. Is I left and my brother was 11. I come home and he's 17. You know, and it's like, you can imagine the transition that he made. So, I mean,
How did he take it?
he didn't know who I was. Our relationship didn't start until I came home. I was out of the military. He was 11 when I left, and I was this 19-year-old. Like, I would have given him the time of day at that point, you know. I was 19. I was more worried about myself than I was worried about anybody else. When I got home, we, you know, got to know each other.
Did they ask a lot of questions?
No.
Did you want them to?
No, I don't think anybody wanted to know. My father's the only one. Actually, my father and my fiance are the only ones that know anything about any of the combat operations.
You met your fiance while you were in?
No, I met her when I got out. She's the only one, and my father, the only ones that know any of the combat stuff.
Sure.
As far as my mom knows, I went to Iraq and sat there with her friends, did nothing, and I think it's better that way. Yeah, I'm fine. So.
Hopefully she doesn't tune in.
Oh, right. Oh, there goes that.
Yeah.
Sorry about